Hey everybody, welcome to Worship Uncoiled. We are super excited you decided to join us tonight. Hey, we start every week off the same way, so we're going to do it again this week with the draw. So make sure you get your name posted in the comments or send me an email at cjmustin@fccbrazil.org. We also do a challenge every single week, and this week's challenge is interesting. I want you to find as many things in your house of this color that you possibly can. Chartreuse. Yes, chartreuse. Now, I know many of you may be asking the question, same question I asked when I heard the color chartreuse. What is chartreuse? That's a great question, and that is part of the challenge. So figure it out, Google it. The person that can post a picture with the most chartreuse things they find in their house will be the winner of the challenge this week. So go on the hunt, find some chartreuse things. Every week I talk about kingdom work, and so I want to just encourage you again to do kingdom work. Go out and do the thing that God has gifted you to do, the thing that you love, the thing that you're passionate about, the thing that you are good at. God gave you those gifts for a purpose. We want you to use those gifts for His kingdom. We learned about those at CIY, and we are working out the details as to whether we're going to be able to go to CIY Move or Mix this year. We'll keep you posted on that. And now we're going to head into a time of worship. We're going to do the same thing we've done every week. We posted some songs and some links in the comments section. So follow these links and spend some time singing and worshiping God together. So tonight we're finishing up this series called The Summer of Influence. We started this series 2 weeks ago looking at this idea of the foundational level of influence and how that foundational level of influence is really influencing ourselves. And we influence ourselves by revering God in our hearts or honoring God in our hearts. See, when we get the heart right, when we honor God in our hearts, then it sets the foundation for everything else. When we honor God in our hearts, we see who we really are, that we are loved and valuable and have a purpose. We see ourselves through God's eyes. And when we honor God with our hearts, we see others through the eyes of Jesus. And so it sets the stage for influence among friends and influence among acquaintances. When we honor God in our hearts, when we have that foundation right, then the outside influences impact us less, and we are more influential among the people that we come into contact with. And then last week, we talked about this idea of influencing our friends and how we influence friends simply because we're friends. And influence happens among friends because they spend time together, they connect on a deep level, and they stay true to themselves, or that foundational level of influence. We looked at the story of David and Jonathan and their friendship and how they influenced one another. And tonight, we're going to look at this idea of influencing acquaintances. You know, Kirsten and I have really enjoyed watching the show Some Good News by John Krasinski. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's on YouTube and Facebook. John Krasinski is most known as Jim Halpert in The Office or as Jack Ryan on the Amazon series. And he started this show called Some Good News on social media. And the whole premise of the show is simply to point out incredible things that people are doing for other people around them. And so he spends episodes talking about healthcare workers that are treating people with COVID-19. He spends episodes talking about a trash collector that went out and sang happy birthday to an elderly woman because he knew that she wouldn't see anybody on her birthday. He spends episodes throwing proms for kids that didn't get to have proms. And he spends this whole episode pointing out story after story after story after story of people that are doing incredible things for people around them. People that are making meals out of their house and then just giving it away for anybody that's hungry. It's an absolutely incredible show. And the thing I love about this show is how people are simply influencing other people around them. And it's story after story after story. And you can see that this influence occurs not only among people that they're close to, but people that they don't even really know. They're just acquaintances. In the book of Matthew, chapter 5, Jesus is in the middle of his longest recorded sermon. And in chapter 5, starting in verse 14, he says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." You are the light of the world. And see, the cool thing about light is that light influences everything that it touches. I think Jesus was really intentional when he used the phrase, "You are the light of the world." Because there is nothing that light touches that is not influenced. The details are more vivid. The picture is brighter. Everything that light touches is influenced. And as we think about our own influence, the last few weeks we've talked about influencing ourselves and influencing our friends. And those are very, very important. And Jesus is calling us to influence ourselves and influence our friends. And Jesus is calling us to a broader level of influence that, like light, impacts everyone that we touch. You see, it's easy for us to look at people like John Krasinski when he does the show Some Good News, where he is impacting millions of people that he has no idea who they are. He just puts stuff out there for any acquaintances that may come along. And it's easy for us to look at people like him and say, yeah, that's really easy though, because he has this huge platform. He's a superstar. But the truth is that we all have platforms. We are all influential. God wants us to be influential with everyone that we come into contact with. And so as we think about influencing our acquaintances, the practical question is, how do we do that? And really, we have to start with this. Where do we come into contact with acquaintances? Where do we come into contact with acquaintances? I think there are a few areas that we really come into contact with acquaintances. The first set of acquaintances, probably the place where we have the most influence. They're people we know, but we don't know really well. It's the acquaintances where we know them, we may know their name, we pass them regularly, we may even say hi to them by name, but we don't really hang out with them, we don't know them really too well. The second layer is people that interact with anything that we post online. Anything that we post online. I'm very intentional in the way that I say that phrase, because there's people that we interact with online and we intentionally build them up or tear them down. We intentionally post things toward those people. But there's people that see the things that we post online that we may never know even see them, and they are impacted and influenced by the things that we post. And so there's people that we know that we don't know well. There's people that interact with the things that we post online. And then there's people that we pass every single day. You know, when I start to think about the amount of influence that we have, the influence among people that we know that we don't know well, the influence among people that interact with the things that we post in line, the influence among people that we pass in public, man, I'm humbled. I'm humbled by the opportunities that I have on a daily basis to influence people for Jesus Christ, to be the light that impacts everything that it touches. So let's get practical. How do we really influence people in these three different areas? How do we influence the people that we know, that we pass regularly, but we don't know really well? This is where we have a huge amount of influence. What kind of person are you known as among people that you don't know well? Are you known as someone that is loving and compassionate, that cares for others? Are you known as someone that is kind? You see, it's really easy for us to influence our friends, but then for the people that we don't know well to kind of push them aside. But I think what Jesus calls us to do is to love everyone, to be kind to everyone. And the really practical way to do this is to simply ask, how do people recognize me as a person? Am I recognized as someone that is loving and kind? You know, one of the coolest things that you can do is every single person you pass, say hi to them by name. It will drastically change things for you and for other people. It shows care and compassion. The people that know you that don't know you well, there is a huge opportunity to impact them. And so the question that I would ask is, how would Jesus love the people that I don't know well? How would Jesus love someone that is on the outside of the group? How would Jesus love someone that is being made fun of in that moment? How would Jesus love someone that just looks like they're having a bad day? When we start to ask ourselves the question, how would Jesus love, we can begin to impact people that we know but we don't know well. The second group, how do we influence people that interact with the things that we post online? There's an influence among the people that we intentionally impact online or intentionally influence online. And those people fall under the previous group I just talked about, where we look at how Jesus loved. But there's a group of people that are going to see the things that we post and be influenced that we never know. And here's the deal. We should be like light, where everything that we post, no matter who looks at it, is influenced for Jesus Christ. Starting controversy, bullying, calling people out on different types of things have no place. Jesus calls us to be light. And when someone reads something that we post and they are pushed away from Jesus Christ, we are pushing them into darkness and not toward light. And so the really practical question for this is to ask ourselves, if someone read this that completely disagreed with me, would they be influenced toward or away from Jesus Christ? And the third group, how do we impact or influence the people that we pass on the street? And the really practical question here goes back again to Jesus' love. How would Jesus love someone that he is passing? Do you smile? Are you friendly? Do you look people in the eye? You see, this level of influence is often one that we just kind of skip over, but we have a real opportunity to impact people that we pass on a daily basis. We have an opportunity to be influencers this summer. We have an opportunity to be people that go out and really change people's lives. And so the big question tonight is, what would it look like if just the people watching this video were to go out and really be the light? What if they were to go out and say, I'm taking this seriously. Everyone I come into contact with, I'm influencing. Guys, it would change this community. If the people from First Christian Church Student Ministry would live this out, if they would look at people through the eyes of Jesus and influence everyone they came into contact with, people would look at us and our student ministry and our students and say, wow, something's going on there. I don't know about this whole Jesus thing, but I want to be a part of that. You see, light influences everything it comes into contact with. And Jesus was intentional. He said, we are the light. And so the really practical application this week is I want you to pick one area one area in each of these 3 areas, one person, one opportunity, and try to be influential. Take one moment among someone that you know that you don't know real well and just try to be influential. Ask God for an opportunity. Take one moment where you post things online and ask yourself, is this God honoring? Ask God to help your online life be more influential among people that you don't know. Take one moment among people that you pass on the street and ask God to give you opportunities to be influential, to be kind and compassionate. You see, Jesus said, you are the light of the world. This summer, guys, let's go out and let's be the light. Let's make this a summer of influence.
I'm Brinkley.
I'm Clark.
I'm Tate.
And this is Worship Uncoiled News. Da, 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 da. Next week, Worship Uncoiled Online will not meet because it's Mother's Day. Give your mom a big hug.
May 17th is our Worship Uncoiled finale. Make sure to join us. You will not want to miss this. We are still working out all the summer details, but CJ will keep you updated. On Sunday night, summer events and our COI events. Thank you for coming.
Have a great night.
Have a great night. We won't see you next week. We won't see you next week. We'll see you in 2 years.
Weeks.
2 weeks. I meant.